Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. In this video we're working on the washer pumps for the wiper motors, and hopefully this will be our last video on wiper motors, and then we'll get started back on the actual car. Hope you enjoyed the video. If this is your first time visiting the channel, I want to welcome you, and I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel and follow along on the Camaro build. Okay YouTube, here are two other wiper motors that I've got here in-house. This particular motor right here is one that I bought at a local auto parts store. Pretty inexpensive. I think it was $60 some. And they do charge a core. I didn't actually turn the core in because what they were paying for the core really wasn't that much. And I'd rather keep the core for the park switch and everything. Now this particular motor here, when I first got it out of the box, it didn't really work right. It was real sporadic. What I found was there's a resistor in here that basically gets its ground around this screw stud here, and just had to take it apart, and I actually put an eyelet on it where it would make good contact with the ground with the park switch, and once I did that, everything works really good. That's the one you guys seen the testing done with all the wiper switches. This one is one that I had bought from one of the restoration companies, and I'm not really going to say their name here on the video because I've been trying to get them to come online with us as a channel sponsor, and they're just kind of half interested, I think, but that's okay. But it's just like I said, you can order this motor from any of the restoration warehouses, and this is actually a turnkey motor, supposed to be ready to bolt on the car, and it's got the look. Everything's new on it. I mean, it's a real nice looking motor, and I like everything on it except for the washer pump. When I compared the washer pumps to the original, it just seems like everything is just kind of loose fitting. It seems like there's a little bit of slop in here, and like the springs aren't as tight. It just didn't seem as good as the original ones. So what I've opted to do is rebuild the originals. The other problem I'm having is it will work sometimes, and then sometimes it just kind of hangs up, and you actually have to come in here and force it to move. Like I said, I think these springs are a little loose, and you know, I believe I could get it to work if I put the time and effort into it. I like the way the originals work better. So I'm going to turn it on. Right off the bat, it's a lot more noisier than the original. Again, I put a little pressure here. It quietens it down some. But when I press the washer, you see, it should make one revolution and stop. And sometimes it just gets hosed up, like right there. Right there it's hosed. It should have stopped there, but I put a little too much pressure. Right there it is. Like I said, I believe this spring here is a little loose, and that would fix it. Maybe some grease and everything. But I've got the originals in there, and I've got them broken down, and I think I'm going to restore those, and we'll try that on this motor. We'll see what happens. Basically, the way you wire this up, the power just pigtails off of the power for the wiper motor, and then of course this blue lead is coming off of the terminal on the switch, and once you press the button, this blue terminal here is grounded, which energizes the coil, which will pull this in, which frees this wheel up to turn. This arm is supposed to grab it. And right there it's hung up again. Like I said, I believe we could fiddle with this and make it work. We're just going to see how these others go first. This is actually for the 72 and 81 Camaro. I figured while I was into it, I'd go ahead and rebuild them both. I've already taken this one apart with the exception of the coil. On the back side, you just end up pinching these little ears here and this would pull off. I don't think I'm going to take it off. I think this is as far as I'm going to take it down. Everything cleaned up really good on this one. And what the plan is to go ahead and tape off around where the cover goes. I'll leave all this, the bare metal, and then we'll clean up all this rust in the blast cabinet. Same thing on the back side. We'll tape up into here, and then we'll clean all this rust up, make it look new. I went ahead and soaked all the parts in just a little bit of simple green overnight, and as you can tell, they cleaned up really well. Everything looks really good with these. Nothing's really wore out. You figure these things probably don't get a lot of use anyway, so they should restore really nice. This is an original cap. Of course, it is ripped, so we will be replacing this one. This one, however, I let it soak in the simple green overnight. It looks brand new. This is the pump that I pulled off, and basically you got a piston up in here. This one's actually broke. You can buy a rebuild for these pieces here, and then there's a O-ring and check valve down inside here. These pistons are kind of hard to come by. I believe I have found them online on eBay, so I'm going to double check everything tonight, and if so, we're going to order the piston and the outside rebuild kit. Okay, YouTube, first thing I'm going to do is remove this long spring here. It hooks from this ear to this ear. I'm just going to grab it, and off it comes. We'll put everything in the simple green, let it soak. We got another spring right here on the coil to this piece on the coil. We've got a C-clip here to remove. There it is. Putting it over here on my magnet. This arm now will just slide up off of there. There's that piece. Next thing I'm going to remove, I'm going to go ahead and remove this arm right here. It takes a special bit, but this screwdriver will fit in there and bring it out. And then this arm should just come straight up out of there. It's got two plastic ears that fit down in the hole here. And then of course the screw goes into the middle one. So we'll throw it in the bucket. Next thing I'm going to remove is this piece on the back. Got another C-clamp. Throw it in the magnet. This piece should just pull straight off, and it does. Go ahead and stick it in the simple green. So the inside of it is pretty much down to nothing now. This piece here just comes off. We want to clean it up. There's a spring inside this gear here this little cam gear. We'll take a pair of pliers and we'll reach down and grab it, pull it right out. There's a hole on this side that this smaller end goes in. Right there. Put it in a simple green. And then this little cam gear here, it should just pull right off. I had to turn it a little bit because it was locked into the pump. We'll clean all this oil and grease off of it, and then we'll do a good inspection on it. Let it set in a simple green. Now our pump is just pressed on here through the metal pieces, and we should be able to push it straight off, and then it should lift up too, and then it comes right off. This pump doesn't look too bad, but I'd say a lot of the rubber components inside here are dry rotted. I'd say they're in pretty bad shape inside. We've got a little insulator here for electrical connections, and we'll pull it off. We'll clean it up very lightly. We want to be very careful with it. Not really going to soak it. Probably what I'll do is just lightly clean it with some simple green, and then we'll just dab it dry and put it away for safekeeping. Everything looks to be in good shape where everything needs to work at, so I'm going to leave it original. Like I said, I am going to dress up this outer edges with just some paint, just to make it look a little bit more appealing. I went ahead and taken the original one apart. I've cleaned it and I've sandblasted the edges, and I went ahead and painted those. They turned out really good. I've also put some grease on this arm here and got it to move freely. I actually have two of them. What I thought I would do is restore one of them just like the factory and have it as a backup for Project Overkill, and then the other one is going to go for the 81 Camaro. These pumps are what goes bad on these originals, and you can buy a repair kit, which I did buy, and it came in the wrong color though. It came in as black. And these are the pieces you get with it. You get the O-ring and you get a seal. You get new bolts. And mine was missing a few pieces. You're supposed to get check valves with it. Mine was missing those. And contacted the seller. They're going to get me a new kit. It ain't no big deal. It's just a little bit of time. But what doesn't come into the kit is this piece right here that's in the piston of the pump. I was able to find this piston online, this part number right here. It's an NOS one. It's on eBay for right at 30 bucks. And it looks like it's really nice. I think it'll work really good. Still waiting on the Trico repair kit that is white. This one, like I said, is black, so we're not going to be using any of that right now. But what I do have is this one that is off of a brand new GM one that was actually for a later year car, and it's the same, and I'm actually going to use it. On my 81 Camaro, I'm not really worried about correctness as much as I am on the 72. And if you notice, all the motors I have here are early second gen motors, 70 through 73. I just went ahead and kept them the same because it would be easier if I needed to change parts back and forth. So got all the parts cleaned, and I thought we would rebuild at least one of them. I'm going to rebuild the one with this black pump, and we'll put it on the motor and see how it works. So what I've been finding that goes wrong with these things usually is just the grease dries up in them. And like I said, these pumps go bad. See if I can do this without getting grease everywhere. I think it's already happened. Pretty easy to take apart. It's a little difficult going back together. Alright, next I'm going to put my little cam gear on here. I've inspected it. Don't really see anything wrong with it. No cracks or anything like that. I'm going to dab just a little bit of grease on some of the contact points. One thing I forgot to tell you on that pump, on the shaft, you want this little tab sticking upwards. And right here's where we're at so far. Ready to put our spring in here, and we've got a few more pieces to put on. Okay, to get this spring back in, I wind up removing this cam gear and putting the spring in first, and then sliding it down as one piece. That's how I did that. Next up is our little coil bracket here. I always take digital pictures of this stuff as a reference. It gives you a good reference. We've got one spring that hooks onto it. And we've got this small lock that goes up against this gear. Right there is what it should look like when we get done. Gonna put our little dust cover on the electrical part. And I think we're ready to try it. Okay, we got it hooked in there right now. Let's try a washer pump. Nope. She ain't turning, YouTube. There she goes. Now let's see what happens. I can feel it pumping air here. There it is. It's working now, guys. Just need a little bit of help. I like that a lot better than that other one. We hit it one time. One revolution. Let's go to high speed and hit it. There it is. And you can tell what I mean by when I say it's just a lot better, smoother operation. Like I said, this is a mechanical pump here. Yeah, she's right. Here's what she'll look like once I put the cover over it. And like I said, I got to find some better screws. But this is a really nice motor here. You have to doctor it up a little bit, but it's a nice motor. So guys, it's been a pretty fun little project figuring out these wiper motors and the wiring and everything. I wasn't real sure which switch I was going to use on the 72, mainly because of the difference of the bezels. I don't have a bezel for that car, so I'm going to order one of the OER ones. Pretty much think I'm going to go with the 147 switch for Project Overkill. And on the 81, you guys, I haven't really told you my plans for that car, but like I said, it's not going to be an original restoration by any means, and I've got to buy a dash pad for that car. And I'm not a big fan of the 79 through 81 dashes. So if I've got to buy a dash pad, I'm going to put a 70 to 78 dash in it. And I do happen to have a really nice 78 bezel that has been redone by American Restorations. And it's black with the chrome around the edges and everything, and it's super nice. But I was saving that 176 switch for that, and I didn't know if I was going to end up using it on Overkill or the 81, but now that I've figured all of this out, I'll go ahead and get the Repop OER bezel for Overkill, and then I'll save that 78 bezel for the 81. I've actually got the dash pad for Overkill that has been redone by a company called Just Dashes. And you lose a little bit of that stitching around the edges, and I'm not sure how crazy I am about that. What I might end up doing is buying the dash pad for Overkill, using the one for Just Dashes on the 81. But at least I know about the bezels, and at least I know what wiper switch I'm going with now. And so like I said, it's been a fun little project. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you learned with me as I've learned, because that's what it's all about. I'm learning as I'm making these videos with you guys. And now it's time to get back to work on the car, because if you've been following the build, you know I'm a long way away from needing a wiper motor. Guys, we'll catch you on the next one.